Testing 1 2 1 2.
Are we ready?
We are ready.
It's on. Good morning. Today we're going to cover a couple of community reviews, one for the single-family design guidelines that have been changed, and one for the funding of the strategic plan. So let's get started. Next slide, please. We reformatted the entire document for ease of reading and navigation. We removed duplication and potential conflict between sections and updated fast track and non-fast track applications to simplify them. The draft is on the website, and you can look at that whenever you like. Under the residential design guidelines, structural modifications, window and door modifications. For years, people have been fussing about we wouldn't allow a bar in the screen door in front. We now allow a bar. As a matter of fact, I think you're going to see that all of the changes are in favor of the resident as we go forward here. Overhead garage doors. When necessary, overhead garage doors shall be replaced with light design material and colors. The garage door may contain window panels across the top panel. The design of this door must be approved by the ERC, but we're going to allow windows in the overhead doors. Next slide, please. What?
A window grill,
Yeah.
It's not a bar.
Well, no, this is a bar and the screen door. We'll get to the window grills. Okay, under awnings, window treatment.
Hey, back it up one. Back it up one.
One more and treatments, correct? One more back.
One more. Back.
Back it up one. That's the beginning. What's that?
Window grills.
Oh, I'm sorry. Window grills are no longer required in the side yards or in the rear yard.
Is that a Munson or is that like a steel bar?
No, that's the grills that make your windows the little panels.
Munson.
Okay. If that's a technical term, I'll buy it. Okay, now we can go on. Awnings, window treatments, retractable sunscreens, and skylights. Solar panels were stuck in here because of solar skylights were already there. But solar panels are now allowed. They must be mounted on the rear or side roof of the house. The panels are not allowed on any other portion of the residential lot. Solar panels must mirror the pitch of the roof and have no more than a 4-inch air gap. That means stand off the roof no more than 4 inches. Color must be dark, preferably black, and any additional equipment must be housed in the garage or basement and be properly vented. That last statement is in the event that somebody wants to do some storing of electricity using batteries. Most people in a subdivision like ours would just put panels up with mini inverters, a mini inverter on each panel, and offset some of the electrical cost. If you want to do a whole house system, it's rough in here because at least in phases 2 and 3, we're pretty much electric. Phase 1, you could do more, but you still need batteries and a big inverter and things of that sort. At any rate, solar panels are now allowed. Yeah, can we wait to the end?
Okay,
What's this?
you said, can we wait till the end?
Yeah, can we wait to the end to ask the questions?
Oh, okay, I just thought it would be nice to reference individual topics, but
Okay.
you know better than me.
I'm not sure of that, but I'm here.
Well, you didn't write this,
I did.
the original ones, but you didn't write these. I'm just trying to find out.
Okay. Exterior painting of homes. There have been several new colors added. There have been some colors that are retired, and they can't be selected for painting the house exterior anymore. And the fast track application with color IDs and scheme must be approved prior to painting, and I assume that's now for all. Okay. And then Appendix H was added to provide a checklist for exterior painting. Next slide, please. I'm not going to go through this. It's in the design guidelines, the single-family design guidelines, but you can see a lot of work's been done on it. We have one committee member there, Judy Marco, who has done an excellent job with painting, and she can help you with any questions you have relative to painting your house. I think she can show you a house somewhere that's the exact paint style that you may want. Next slide, please. Changes in landscaping requirements and guidelines. In those instances where natural grass will not grow due to shading or other ground conditions, artificial turf may be installed by the homeowner. Such grass must be color consistent with the surrounding turf and may only be installed in the rear portion of the private area of the home. To the extent able, the homeowner should submit a sample or clear photo of the proposed grass with their application. So artificial turf is now going to be accepted within the private area of the rear yard. And finally, tree and plant additions and removals, streetscape trees. The single trunk bloodgood Japanese maple has replaced the paper bark maple as an alternative. We never did any planting of the paper bark maples anyway. It was just the trident maple. So the trident maple or the single trunk bloodgood Japanese maple are now available. We also have design guidelines for the villas, and they're under review. They'll come out later this year. Okay, then I had a couple of submitted questions from a person who couldn't be here. Next slide, please. Section 5C, exterior painting of the home, indicates that residents may repaint using the existing color scheme of their home. But further down this section, it states that retired color scheme cannot be selected when painting the exterior of the home. These two statements seem to be in conflict since my existing color scheme may have been retired. Can you clarify which statement is accurate? The answer is both statements are accurate. If a resident's current color scheme on their home is still an approved color scheme, they may utilize it when repainting their home. However, if the color scheme on their home has been retired, they'll need to choose a new color scheme from the approved list. Next slide, please. You want to come up and do this?
Well, I probably know more about the document than what you do, but I'm trying to respond to that question and say, you're saying that both answers are right. If it's retired, then it can't be used, so how can you say that it can be used?
We didn't say that.
Well, it does. Go back to the statement.
Go back to the slide.
No, go back to the document as it stands. Not this. This is a question.
Okay, now your question is, the answer is wrong, is that correct?
No, what I'm saying is that the statement in the document, you're looking at Barbara Hamlin's question. I looked at the document. I looked at the draft.
Okay,
And if it's retired, then no, they can't use it. So why say they can? Retired, so now what it says that in the questions.
We'll rewrite it. Obviously, it's not clear, we'll rewrite it. It says that if your color scheme has not been retired, you can still use it. If it has been retired, then you can't use it. We'll clarify that.
okay.
Well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
Okay,
See, that's all I had to hear.
yeah, fine. Next question, or next slide, please. Okay, section 5D, landscaping requirements and guidelines states the ground surfaces of all portions of the lot outside the private area are covered with either turf or ground cover. Where turf is used within a lot, Bermuda grass to match the turf originally installed should be used for replacement. This statement is confusing to me since it implies that I choose to replace my Bermuda grass with Zoya in my front private area. I would be obligated to use Bermuda on the strip of grass between the sidewalk and the street. Is that correct? For clarification, the private area is defined as that area between the two predominant outside walls of the home as originally constructed and extends from the rear wall of the home for a distance of 20 feet. There is no private area of the home relative to, and no front private area of the home relative to turf replacement. Should a homeowner decide to replace their turf with either Bermuda grass or one of the multiple strains of zoysia, this is considered maintenance item and ARC approval is not required. We believe that the homeowner would seek to put similar grass in if in fact it needed to be replaced. Okay, and next slide, please. This slide has to do with aeration. We used to aerate annually. We haven't for 3 or 4 years, if I remember correctly. The questioner wanted to know why we just didn't take it out. And the answer from ARC is while aeration has not necessarily been provided, the section goes to on to state per the published landscaping schedule. ARC believes that maintaining the current list provides more specificity in yearly landscaping schedule, and rather than have to update the thing every year, we'll just leave it in there. Okay, next slide. Discussion. Now you can have more questions.
Hold on. Terry,
I don't need a microphone.
you do? So you're not going to
They
talk?
can hear me.
Okay, no, but we're streaming.
All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Now you go ahead.
Pam Steiner. Actually, I have a request of the ARC. When I have read, I went through all this last year's minutes, okay? And I noticed that, for instance, in January was the only time that I could find that they mentioned changing a tree. There was no follow-up with that, no notes put in there. So all of a sudden we can have a tree. Let me see. In February, there was some talk, not much, about reviewing paint schemes, and then nothing else after that. And now we have a change in September. The garage doors came up in April, and that was the only time it came up in discussion in their notes. My point is, it would be nice to have more complete minutes of these things that affect us on a day-to-day basis, because if somebody wanted to come in next month to make a presentation on garage doors, let's say, and make a request, there's no opportunity to do that because there's no knowledge about what the next meeting is even going to be. So that is my request, that whatever gets put in here that it's more complete and it doesn't just show up 9 months later as part of a change.
Okay, you're not talking about the changes, you're talking about the minutes.
Well, I'm talking about both, because there's no opportunity to even come in and talk about a possible change.
Okay. Understood. We'll pass that along to ARC. Other questions?
Hi, Barbara Carter. I have a question on Appendix H, under the main topic, the House, bullet number 5. And it states, a home where shake and siding are part of the material composition can be painted one of the basic colors from the scheme selected. I don't understand what that means. I guess what I really don't understand is, what do you mean by material composition? And can I paint my house? I have shakes and sidings. So in bullet number 2, it says you've got to use the two colors, one for the shake and one for the siding. And then in bullet number 5, it says you can use one color. So I don't know what to paint my house.
I think there are normally 2 colors, and if you were to get with your liaison, they'll help you with that. You have a street and liaison for ARC.
Yes, I know.
Pardon me?
I know.
Okay, just give your liaison a call, and he or she will help you with that.
Thank you.
Thanks for, my name's Mike DeFantis. I want to thank everybody that's involved with this presentation that you're doing today. My number one takeaway in all of this, and it's a suggestion, you got to be more open here. It's the transparency, there is none. And there's so many questions to be asked today. Just be patient today. Just because we ask questions, it's not a direct attack on what you guys are presented. These are questions that need to be asked. Thank you.
Okay, there's a couple questions up here.
Martha Hunt, the window grids, it said you could have them, you could remove them from the side and the back of the house. The front, you need to keep them?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Appendix B says that there's a list of liaisons included in the appendix, and they're not. They're on the website. It says they're in the.
Oh, okay. It's on. They're not on an appendix on the website.
Reference the website, I think, or else put it in there.
We'll also put them in the appendix. Thanks.
Pass it to
I have a question regarding the statements of solar.
Okay.
Having been part of 2 years of discussions of updating this document, one of the things that was really important with solar panels or anything that went on a roof was the fact of whether or not you could see it from the street. That was discussed at numerous meetings, and I don't see it addressed there at all.
Okay.
In the document or in your comments?
With the solar panels, we're trying to stay a step ahead of the state legislature here. For the last 2 years, there's been language submitted to the legislature to make sure that all HOAs allow solar panels on the roofs of the homes. It didn't make it out of committee last year. This year it made it out of committee, didn't get the vote. We figure it'll vote next year. We just wanted to be ahead of it so that we could set our own rules rather than be stuck with whatever they come out with. Now, when you have solar panels on the side roof, you're going to see them from the street. There's no way around it. We're not going to allow solar panels on a roof that's facing the street, but the other three sides, we really have to, because south and west are the two that work. North doesn't work hardly at all, and east is only a few hours. So that's why we did it that way.
Well, I appreciate that, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't say it anywhere in the document that it cannot be street-facing or viewable from the street. Again, committee discussion.
But it can be viewable, and we're going to let it be viewable. It's got to be the same pitch as the roof.
So it can be in the front,
No.
but it but
Well, just a second.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go. I'm asking because it does not say in the draft document that it cannot be viewable from the street, which was stated repeatedly in committee discussions before this document was created.
Right, but the committee changed their mind, right? So it can be viewable from the street, it just can't be on the front of the house. It can be on the rear and the side, and if your rear faces the street and people can see it, they're gonna see it. We can't prevent it. What that's saying is, we can't prevent you from putting solar panels on your house. The only thing we're preventing is that it's not on the front roof of your house. It can be on the rear and the side, and people are gonna be able to see it.
Excuse me.
It would almost be impossible
It would be almost
not
impossible.
have a view from the street.
The problem is if it weren't viewable from the street, the only homes that could have solar panels are the homes where the front faces north. And the back roof is sloped so that you can put a panel on it. So that's why we came up with the wording we did.
Okay. Was that done in ARC committee or was that done in HOA committee? ARC. And excuse me, Steve, since you responded, when did that occur? Not during the 2 years that we worked on the document. I understand, but I also know that I'm asking you a question. When did that come up in guidelines?
Okay, well, why don't we do this? We're taking up a lot of time on this. Why
This
don't
is
you
kind
just
of
get with
important.
Steve and work it out?
Okay. I guess the other question I'll ask is regarding turf. It was discussed, and I'm going to go back. I guess, was it ever discussed that it was okay that you didn't have to show a something that resembled what you were going to put in? That was made very important. No, that's not what it says. It says it's expected. It's not required.
They have to show a picture of what they're installing, Terry.
Please don't talk to me that way. Please don't talk to me. What I'm saying is, it doesn't say, no, I said that way.
Well, okay. Okay, so noted. Any other questions? Other questions on design guidelines? Yeah.
When do you remove draft from the document?
When the board votes on it, which will probably be tomorrow. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? What? Here, hold on, Pam. You wanted to repeat the last question? He asked, when will the board remove draft from the document? And the answer was that after they vote on it. We're waiting on the feedback from today's meeting to do that. Did you have another question, Pam?
Well, I have a request. The guidelines have changed by about 20 pages. Okay, now, there's not that much duplication in there to warrant 20 pages, and so I was trying to go through and compare the old document with the draft, and it was very difficult. Normally, when you have especially significant changes like that, it is either a red line through what you're taking out, or it is a red highlight to what you are adding in. And that makes it much easier to see the changes. And I found it near impossible. It would take me hours to go through two of these documents and go word for word and try to figure out where the 20 pages went. So I just would request that they do that in the future and make it easier for us to ascertain what is being changed.
Go ahead, Ed.
I actually did most of the changes in it, so
Let me give you the microphone so they can hear you on stream.
So I made most of the changes in the document, so I do have a red line, and we can post that red line. It was very confusing red line, which is why we didn't do it, because we thought you'd get lost in all the changes. It's multitude of changes. But actually, the reason it's 20 pages shorter is because all the fast-track and non-fast-tracked applications contained the same information in the guidelines. Sometimes it was exactly the same, sometimes it was worded a little bit different. It had just grown over time into that kind of a document. So we removed all the detail in the fast-track and non-fast-tracked applications and moved it all into the Residential Design Guidelines, Section 5, and so we wouldn't have that duplication. Because then when you make changes in the future, we'd have to make sure we were making changes in two places, and we wanted to eliminate that duplication of effort. So we'll post that. You're welcome to read it, but that's why it's 20 pages less, is because we just tried to get rid of all that duplication.
I have a quick question. Can you make that a searchable document online?
It's a Word document. You can search it.
Searchable document?
Yeah, absolutely. We can post a Word version, can't we, Jennifer? Tell me yes. Okay. We can post a Word version.
Yes, we can. So it was mostly redundancies, in other words.
Okay, there's another question near the back, Jennifer.
It's not really a question, it's just a comment about posting a Word document. If we post a Word document on our website, anybody can change it. So that is why we choose to post PDFs.
And I appreciate that. I mean, we already have the final version. We're not going to allow changes to the document. Right? So it's just so you can check it.
It could be taken.
If she can make a searchable PDF, I'm talking about the experts in word processing.
I think we can.
Okay,
On the website. Okay, well, we'll check and see if we can make a searchable PDF on the website, but she's saying that on the website, the search function doesn't work on the PDFs. So
okay,
we'll do the best we can on that, though, Pam, okay?
It does, because I've done it. A PDF file is searchable.
That's what I thought.
On the website, I've done it.
You have.
okay, one last question here.
Document can be converted to a PDF file and cannot be, and you can put an encryption on it, no one can change it.
Okay,
I had those tools.
okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to VDC funding for our strategic plan. Next slide, please. By way of background, VDC has a representative form of government. That means that the residents elect a board of directors, and the board runs the association, making all necessary decisions. Until 2021, there was no provision for a community review for any proposed expenses. In April of 2021, the bylaws were updated and sections 3.17 T, U, and V were added, giving residents an opportunity to receive information and discuss expenditures. This was put in to offer a formal forum, if you will, for residents to hear what we're doing, the reasons why, and the expenditures associated with them. That was the intent. The reason I know that was the intent is I wrote it. And Harvey and Jim and I were on the board at that time, and I think Ed Sulu was just coming on when we approved that. So after that, policies were written to provide detail for the community review of the ARC design guideline updates and selected asset expenditures. And I'll show you a policy in a minute. The board considers the Mulberry River erosion issue to be a liability that needs to be addressed rather than an asset in need of repair. The vehicle bridge, the pedestrian bridge, and the village green are assets directly affected by this liability. Next slide, please. That will bring up the question is, are we again spending money on the bridge? We never get done spending money on that asset. I asked Warren to pull up what monies have been spent since Pulte left on the bridge. And since the transfer of the bridge from Pulte to us, York Construction completely rehabbed both bridges at a cost of $144,000 some change. And Apex stained and painted them for another $61,000 some change. And then we had two inspections, a deck inspection and a full structural inspection, and they totaled $13,440. Today, the bridges are both functional and stable assets. We're talking about risk reduction here. We're not making a repair to an asset, but rather spending monies on a liability to avoid having to repair assets. The liability being Mulberry River erosion, and the assets being the bridges and the village green. Why now? Well, because there's substantially more water flowing through the river during heavy storms than in the past. The increased flow rate during storms is a result of both climate change, which means there's more short spurts of heavy rain, and a smaller green footprint. With a green footprint, what I was driving at there is if you think back to 2004, 2005, before anything was built in here, if memory serves me correctly, I think there's 350 some acres in here, but I'm not sure. At any rate, it was all a green space. There were no paved roads. There was nothing but trees and weeds and maybe some forms of grass. Today we have 1,144 homes, all the roads associated with it, all the sidewalks associated with it. The amount of green space, green footprint that is I would say not much more than half of what it was back then. And when you take half of the soil away that has the ability to absorb water, water's got to go someplace, so it runs off. And that's why we have more runoffs than we have had in the past. The flow rate during the storms will continue to accelerate because of both continuing climate change and even a smaller green footprint. If you look next door here, they're building a mini storage operation. They're going to have paved parking and buildings. And I see where they're in for zoning changes past that for, I think that those are going to be luxury homes in that area. Apartment buildings, okay. So there'll be more green footprint that will leave, and what happens when we get a heavy rain, the water runs off and into the river. Next slide, please. This is a shot from the deck here to the river, and you can see in front, we don't have a pointer, do we? That's all right. You can see in front, just past the fence there is an area. That's where when back in 2013, 2014, that's where a lot of erosion was taking place. Pulte came in and put a bunch of riprap in there, and that stopped that erosion. But what it did is move it to the other side of the river. And so now we're faced with erosion on the other side, and you can see the far bank there. You can see the river in front, and the far bank is eating away at the rate of about 2 foot a year. Now, normally that's not a problem. The river just stays there. But if we get a hard rain, next slide, please. This is what it looked like on the 4th of January of this year. You can see back there the entire village green is flooded. It overtopped the banks and flooded everything. Now, that doesn't last a long time, but it comes up and goes down, and a lot of erosion occurs as it comes up and goes down. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk for a minute about what we're using here to have a community review. This is a community review for new and existing large assets. On the left, you'll see procedure, community appeal process, and alternative procedure. I'll get it right yet. And those are all for new assets. If we're going to build something or buy something we've never had before. On the right-hand side describes existing assets. Assets included in reserve fund. And any asset including reserve fund, what that really says is it's budgeted and it works fine, and we're not going to fool with it. And then the assets not including reserve fund but over 150,000. And then number 6, section 6 is an emergency declaration. We have a real problem. We had to declare emergency and do something. We can do that. Next slide, please. I took section 5 and enlarged it so everybody could see it. Can you turn a different station on? If you look at the top, maintenance and repair of existing community assets is addressed in the CC&R's section 7.2, which reads, the association shall maintain the facilities and equipment within the common area in continuous operation unless members representing 75% of the members in the association agree in writing to discontinue such operation. And then policy under section 5 says extensive repair replacements of these items are not currently funded. Should extensive repair or replacement be necessary, a community member meeting will be held where design criteria and finance options will be discussed. Now, we discussed the design criteria on August 17th. Today, we'll discuss the finance options. Next slide, please. This is a slide that, or a copy of a slide that Jim had up on the 17th of August showing all the funding for the strategic planning pillars. There's $1.1 million for Mulberry River erosion, $250,000 for the landscaping of the future, and then we put $92,000 in for the other 4 pillars. Totaled $1,442,000 as he rounded it off. Next slide, please. So what are our options? Well, we could just postpone the whole thing, kick the can down the road. Frankly, that's the easiest from the board standpoint, the least amount of pain for us. But it's potentially both very risky and costly. We could use monies currently in the reserve fund. Today, the reserve fund is currently below $1,442,000. We could secure a grant or monies from others to fund the work. There's no money from the Corps of Engineers. No money from the state of Georgia. No money from Hall County. We have contacted them because they have a sanitary sewer that goes into the river. We're going to go back and contact them one more time, but we're optimistic. We are open to grant writing, but the town of Brazelton just finished running about 2 miles of remediation on the Mulberry River. And they were unable to get any grants from any place. And they're a government entity, and benefits are accrued to the public. We're a private entity. Benefits are accrued to us. And so we don't believe there's any grant money available. If anybody has any ideas, we'll be happy to look at them. Fund the work through a long-term special assessment using a loan. I originally kind of liked this idea because when we first started talking about this, prime rate was less than 2. I think it's 3.5 now. And if prime's 3.5, banks are going to loan between 250 and 300 basis points above that. So I put in 6%. And I think that's a little low today. And if we were to fund that through a loan and ask residents to pay a monthly fee for 10 years, that'd come out to $13.57 a month, or a total of $16.29 per lot. And we could fund the work through a short-term special assessment. $35 a month for 3 years, or $12.60 a lot. Now, we could do one other thing that I haven't got on here, and that is we could fund it through our regular dues. The CC&Rs, or our governing documents, allow for the board to raise the monthly rate as much as 20%. Without asking for a vote of the public or of the residents. 20% would be 35 plus, let's say we raise it, well, for purposes of talking here, another $20 like we did last year. That'd be $55 that it'd raise. We're at $275 now. $27.50 is 10%. 20% is $55. So we could have done that, but the problem with that is that once you implement something in your normal operation, it never goes away. So, next slide, please. The option we selected after putting together a funding team consisting of John Harris, Jim Minch, Bill Perkins, and Steve Zachock, and they spent a lot of time researching and discussing this, and they recommended that we do $35 for special assessment for 3 years. The board accepted that recommendation. Now, next slide, please. What are special assessments used for, and who has the authority to levy them? Well, under the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, Article 9, Association Finances, Section 9.2, let me get through with all those numbers. In addition to the other authorized assessments, the association may levy special assessments to cover unbudgeted expenses or expenses in excess of those budgeted. Any such special assessment shall be levied against the entire membership if such special assessment is for common expenses. Any special assessment may be levied by action of the board. Special assessment shall be payable in such manner and at such time as determined by the board, and may be payable in installments extending beyond the fiscal year in which the special assessment is approved. Next slide, please. I'd like to go back to Jim's funding slide and spend a minute here. The $1.1 million for the Mulberry Erosion Project, we're pretty comfortable with. And the reason we are, again, is that town of Brazelton just completed remediation on over 2 miles of the same river down behind Publix down here in, I think it's Barrow County, is that correct? And they have pretty good numbers to work with. We used the same design group that they had, and they gave us pretty good numbers to work with. Now, the risk you run is when we get to construction, you know, we got to go through design, we got to go through bidding, and we got to get a contractor awarded. And the conditions could change between now and the time that that happens, and prices could be a lot different. We don't think so, but it could happen. At any rate, we're pretty comfortable with those prices. Deaton Creek Parkway landscaping for the future, we put $250,000 in there. That's we have $110,000 in the operating budget that we use annually for those kinds of things. This is going to give it a kicker to remove a bunch of trees that need to be removed, conifers and bushes that are ending their life cycle. You can start to see it. There are more and more of them dying. And we think that the $250,000 is a pretty good number for that. We put the $92,000 in there because we'll come up with some stuff, technology, we'll come up with some technological approaches that we're not aware of right now that we can use this money for. If there's money left over in this area at the end of the 4 years, we'll roll it into the reserve fund and we'll reduce the reserve fund levy for that year by that amount. Next slide, please. I want to spend a little time on the elephant in the room, and that's the Mulberry Erosion Control System. I broke that into 3 phases. Phase 1 was engineering review and recommended solution. We have spent a total of $36,000 to date. I know there's numbers out there, 70,000, 103,000. We have spent 36,000 to date. Why did we spend any money without announcing what we were doing? We had to find out what we had. We had to find out what it was going to take to remediate this thing. And we now have those numbers, $1.1 million altogether, including the 36,000. The stream restoration design and permitting takes 4 to 6 months. I couldn't put 4 to 6 on there and get it on, so I just put 6. But we have to go get permits by the designer, the person, or the group that designs this thing. As you're aware, we used Engineering 303 for the initial review. Our plan is to use Engineering 303 for the design because the town of Brazelton says they were the best far and away in this area. When I talk about permitting costs, of that 90,000, 30,000 is simply permitting costs to the federal, the state, and the local governments. And then the estimated construction costs of $974,000 or thereabouts. I know there have been numbers floating around like it costs $600,000, and in addition to $600,000, a third to a half in contingency for the next 3 years for plantings that don't grow and things of that sort. The $600,000 is a direct cost for the primary contractor. When you look at the loaded cost, if you look down at the bottom here, construction management is about $60,000. And we're going to have somebody manage this, put together the bids, send them out, bring them back, oversee the project. we're a bunch of retirees and we don't have the expertise to do that kind of thing, but it's readily available. Use the same construction manager that town of Brazelton used, and they were very happy with them. So that's 60,000. Refresh the bridge riprap is another 30,000. Planning enhancements, that's all the plantings around there. When we get these 3-to-1 slopes in, that's 50,000. Village green sod and partial irrigation replacement, I'll explain more about that later, but that's up to 15,000. And then the contingencies, both the construction and the 3-year maintenance contingency. Construction contingency is around 100,000 if I remember right. And 3-year maintenance contingency, and that's the contingency where we go in and we replace plantings that don't make it because of flooding. That's 120,000. And when you couple 120,000 with about the 35,000 a year that we spend now cleaning the river of dead trees, because the Corps of Engineers makes us do that, we've got more than a third of the direct construction costs in there. So our plan is to move forward with phase 2 now and phase 3 in the fall of 2024. Next slide, please. Another shot of our river back behind the clubhouse. The plan is to move the river a little bit this way into this first part of this green area here, and put some what are called J-hooks in there so that we can minimize erosion with that. And then I think most, if not all of those trees will go, because we have to get 3-to-1 slopes and get plantings on them so they'll hold. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think we can get it done. Next slide, please. I just gave you another shot of this one for 2 reasons. One is to have you look at the amount of sediment that you can see there, how brown the water is. And the second is to see that those plantings are underwater. But it doesn't hurt them, because it's only going to last a day or so and then it's gone. I don't want anybody to believe that we won't have this kind of flooding when we make these changes. We will. It's not going to go away. But if we make the changes properly, we can sustain the banks with these plantings and they'll hold up. And then there's one more reason we'd like to move this project along. Next slide, please. Hall County is going to make some major changes to their sanitary sewer system. If you look at that easement that comes right through our ballpark, matter of fact, the center of the thing comes through home plate, you'll see it's I think that's a 60-foot easement through there. It's got a gravity-fed sewer in it now. They're going to come through and put a forced main sewer in and pump it from east to west over to a substation that they're going to build on the other side of Reunion. They're designing it now, they tell us, and it will be constructed, they say, in 2025. Next slide, please. Now, we want to get this done. Well, we have some leverage with Hall County. They can't construct this thing within a 60-foot easement. It just can't be done, and they know it. You remember the stage over here for the green. We were a little late applying for the building permit, and we were denied the building permit. We appealed it. It sat for several months, and then they decided they had to do some things with their whole sanitary sewer system, and suddenly we got the permit. The reason we got the permit is they know they have to come through here and they need our help. And then when Harvey talked with them, They said, well, at the end, the only thing you need to do then is get it stamped by a registered engineer. And Harvey said, well, he said, I'm a registered engineer. Ed's a registered engineer, but we're both retired and we've given up our liability insurance, and so we don't stamp prints anymore. And she said, well, I'll waive that part. So we've made some progress with Hall County. Now we need to make some more, because what we need to do with all this stuff, the soil that comes out of here to get these 3-to-1 slopes, got about 5,000 yards of soil to move. And it can go on the green. It'll raise the green about a foot to a foot and a half, and then we'll resod it and put the sprinkler system back in. That's for the stuff on this side of the vehicle bridge. On the other side of the vehicle bridge, it can go in the easement that Hall County now has, that they'll be coming through with their force main, and we can spread it in there. But we need to get that done before they come through, because once they come through and put their force main in, we're going to have trouble getting a permit from them for it. So we'd like to move that along, and hopefully we can get everything done by the end of 2024. Next slide, please. So how will this special assessment work? Our CC&Rs treat special assessments identical to base assessments, and all enforcement provisions apply. Homeowners will be assessed the same amount. The amount assessed will begin January 2024 and end December 2026. From a homeowner's perspective, it's $35 a month times 36 months, or $1,260. From an HOA perspective, $35 times 1144, which is $40,400 a month, times 36, $1,441,600. We'll have detailed information available. It looks as though what we'll be able to do is offer about any plan you want. What CMA will do is list it as a monthly liability. You can pay it monthly, which is fine. You can pay it annually, and so you'll get a credit for the 11 months each year when you first pay it, or you can pay the whole thing at once, and you get a credit for all 36 months. I heard somebody say, well, once I pay it, I've paid it, I sell my house, I lose it all. Well, there's a credit in there for the amount due that you've already paid. And when they close on your house, seems to me you'd get that credit back. Okay, next slide, please. We had a number of submitted questions. And I'll go through them as fast as I can. We had one set of questions submitted yesterday afternoon that I didn't see until about 5 o'clock last night. I was on my second glass of wine, and I didn't do anything with them. But everybody else we've got in here. Okay. Question, can you pay $35 a month assessment in one lump sum? Yes. Is it going to be separated from HOA dues? It'll be a line item on the monthly dues. My understanding is this assessment for 3 years. Is that correct? Yes. It'll begin in January 2024 and end in December 2026. Will our HOA fees go up, and how much? Well, not yet set. The HOA fees will probably go up $18 or so a month, although I'm hearing now it may be just a little less than that. And then this person had a comment. Thank you for addressing the issues that Deaton Creek has on the agenda. This property is enormous and with awesome beauty. I would hope people realize, along with growth in neighborhoods and our current economic conditions, things are changing quickly. We adjust as we move along in life. Next slide, please. Are the desired project and increase in dues going to be voted on by the community, or will it be a unilateral decision by the board? The community will not be asked to vote on either the projects or the increase in dues. Okay, I have a number of questions from Sean Austin. Has the HOA applied for any grants to deal with the river issue? If not, why not? If so, what's the response? If no response, why are the residents being assessed before all avenues for funding are exhausted? The town of Brazelton recently completed 2 miles of Mulberry River restoration, and they found no grant money to be available. I think we talked about this before. So, next question. Which costs covered under special assessment are needs rather than wants? Frankly, the board considers all of these to be needs. Next slide, please. Why are the pillars being funded through special assessment and not through return on investment dollars? Well, as a nonprofit entity, monies are spent to preserve assets and reduce risk rather than ROI in our operation. Next question. What makes the proposed work on Deaton Creek Parkway an immediate need? It is replacing shrubs, etc. This is definitely not an urgent matter, nor one that should be necessarily a high priority, given the cost. And as I said before, many of the shrubs and conifer trees are at the end of their life cycle and they're dying. We also have the issue of the oak trees between the entrance and the clubhouse here. They're heaving sidewalks and can't grow any grass under the trees anymore. Why are additional dollars requested through a special assessment for technology when Clubhouse was rewired last year and technologically updated? And answer is our pillar teams are researching use of technology that's not currently in use or in existence. Next slide, please. Does the board understand that residents are on fixed incomes and everything has gone up in costs, and that by assessing a special assessment, this could place a hardship on VDC residents? The board does recognize the special assessment will be difficult for some residents. However, the board also believes it's imperative to improve and to preserve our assets and maintain the beauty of our subdivision. Next question. By what authority does the board have the right, outside of a vote from the community, to tack on an assessment for any non-urgent costs? Answer was, as discussed in the presentation, the board has the authority to levy a special assessment under CC&R Article 9, Section 9.2. Why are the pillars necessary when most HOAs don't have them? Strategic planning is necessary if a built-out community is going to survive and thrive. Some HOAs don't see the need and are not healthy. Just I thought about that, and then I forgot about it. Jesus. Just, yeah. Okay, next question, or next slide. Was it the board's intent to fund the pillar through special assessment knowing the current budgeting process? In our minds, strategic planning is exploring opportunities and activities outside of the budgeting process, which means they're unbudgeted. The board had no way to know the cost when the process started. After the estimated cost could be identified, a decision was made regarding funding, and the board chose to levy a special assessment. Next question. Why are the dollars that Pulte funded from matters such as river, etc., not being used to fund this? I don't know what the hell he's asking here. I really don't. We're unaware of any Pulte dollars that could be used for anything. If anyone has any information regarding such dollars, the board would like to know about it. Next slide. Okay, this homeowner says, has any other companies besides Engineering 303 been contacted? Not for design. We're following the model of Brazelton, which just finished. Well, I talked to you about that before. You all understand that. What is the plan for the parkway that is necessary? And again, shrubs and conifers and deciduous trees will be removed and some will be replaced based on our consultant's recommendation. Our team under Mark Copper is working feverishly on this, but we're not far enough along to have complete answers. But we do know approximately what the cost will be. When can we get a meeting with the entire community to be given the facts and other quotes that have been given right now? And a comment, it's just my pizza money. Not many of us have pizza money with this economy. That was a rude, uncalled for comment. Let's be more caring about this increase. We just had a $25 a month HOA increase this year. I'm sure there'll be another, so it's not just $35. I would just remind everybody that that comment came from the audience. What's that?
Pizza money comment came from the treasurer. Not your pizza money.
No, it came from the audience and the treasurer used it. How's that? Okay, next slide, please. Could have been, yeah. Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Okay, next slide. This one fella suggested alternative financing the erosion project for the HOA to obtain a loan for cost and repair and remediation. He went through this a little higher interest rate and came out with $14.95 or $15 a month over 10 years. And then the answer is that the board considered this option, but given the immediate cash need and a total of $12.60 per lot, a 3-year assessment at $35 a month was selected. Another suggestion, I would suggest that you have 3 options for payment of the assessment that is the final decision, namely monthly, yearly, and lump sum for the entire assessment. And we think we can make that happen. He had a comment on there which also said he thought the board was doing all right. Okay, next slide. Engineering 303 provided estimated construction costs for restoration at $500 to $600 based on the use of tow wood versus rock option. And at the town hall strategic pillar planning meeting, we were estimated $1.1 million need. Can you provide the detail? And I think I did that when we went through the presentation here. The supplemental engineering 303 slides mention the short-term and long-term monitoring and future remediation. What are the estimated costs of these items, and do you intend to incorporate them in the operational budget, reserve budget, or both? They're there. As I said, there's the 3-year maintenance contingency coupled with $35,000 a year that we have budgeted in the operating account. So we're all set there. Next slide. Have you given consideration to providing the option of lump sum? We have. She asked if we can have a discount. The problem with that is we worked it out. We need $35 per month per lot. And if we start giving a discount for a single payment, then we have to jack up the price higher. And so we're not going to give discount. What the hell? Look. Somebody back there calling me? Yeah. Okay, next slide. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, we're up to the discussion phase. So we'd be happy to discuss whatever you'd like to discuss. Questions?
Again, thanks for all your work. Jim, when he, in Jim's report, it wasn't mentioned in your report, he suggested in his presentation that you were going to take $360,000 out of reserve, and in your presentation, you didn't mention that. So is that gone? We're not touching the reserve?
No, the reason I didn't mention it is I'm not convinced what number we'll need. For example, if a good number of people like Ruth and I pay the fee up front, the $1,260, we'll need a lot less than $360,000. What it is, we have cash in the reserve account, and we're collecting the money over 3 years, but we're going to spend the money over about a year and a half. So we have to make some of that up if everybody goes to the monthly $35 fee. And I'm a little hesitant to say what exactly that will be. It could be as much as $364,000, but I think it'd be less. And it's just a question of moving money around.
So you plan on putting that money back?
Oh, sure, absolutely. The reserve fund is sacred as far as we're concerned. We don't want to take any money out of the reserve fund and use for something else. The $36,000 we've spent so far, did that come out of operating or reserve? That came out of reserve, we'll put it back in reserve.
Mike, it'll be paid back in 9 months.
Yeah, that's what I put on the Facebook page.
It'll be paid back in 9 months.
Did you also have a question? Go ahead.
Jerry Cuccinello, I got a question. Can we see the engineering report? I know they might have a copy at the front desk that we can look at, but can you put it on a computer so we can have time to look at it and study it?
We can. I'm a little reluctant to put it on a computer until we go out for bids, and the reason being, it has all the numbers on there that the bidding contractors can then see and alter their bids. As soon as it goes out for bids, you're welcome to it.
Why can't we, I understand that, there's numbers on there, but why can't we block out the numbers?
Well, we can do that. We can give you everything but the numbers.
You're talking about a lot of money for me anyway, and I'd like to see something written down.
Okay, sure. Be happy to do it without numbers.
How soon can you do that?
I can get that done today.
Okay.
And if you do want to come and see the one with the numbers, I have it in the office. Gotcha. Okay.
Did what? Oh, okay. Part of it is posted online, the ViewGraph version. Yeah.
How long will the actual construction take in Phase 3?
3 to 4 months. We'd like to start in August of 2024, be done and out of here before Hall County comes through with the sewer. Yeah.
I appreciate this financial review, but I thought we were going to have a community review including technical. Yes or no?
You were going to have a what?
A community review that involves some technical discussion for Warren. Questions to Warren.
We did that on the 17th.
It was cut off because of all the questions on financial, and it went to Jim Minch.
Well, if you want to sit down and talk with Warren, he's
I
happy
think
to
the
sit down.
community needs to know some things. Can I present a couple? Warren? Give Warren a chance to talk instead of you. No, truthfully, what's our guarantee that this will work?
I need to hand him the microphone so he can answer that question.
I don't think you get any 100% guarantees that something of the nature of erosion or weather-related activities will be 100% effective. There's always an outside chance because we can't predict what the weather is going to do in the future. I think what you can do is that, closer. I think what you can do is make sure you select an appropriate engineering company who has an established reputation in this area, such as Engineering 303. They perform projects of this nature all over the country, any place up to Virginia, out to Colorado, all over. And we've witnessed their work that they've delivered in the Brazelton area. And they come very highly recommended. We have contacts in the Atlanta area where they've done work, very highly recommended there. So I think we're starting with the best possible engineering company we can have, and they will give us their best engineering opinions.
Sorry, so that the people that are listening on the stream can hear.
Okay, better? All due respect, Warren, tremendous presentation. But in the 12 minutes that you did during the HOA, we couldn't see the J-hook and all that stuff or understand it. I'm concerned that these tree stumps, you called that toe design, when that river gets as high as we saw in some of those pictures, January 4th, you're going to have 3 layers or 4 layers of tree stumps. I haven't seen that at all. I saw the thing at Brazelton one time. I saw the PowerPoints. They just stick them in at one level. So when this river rises so much, has 303 handled a project of this magnitude? This is a big project. This is not like some of your other PowerPoints that just show a floodplain going out there and it only rises maybe 5 or 10 feet. This is big and it's going to continue to get bigger. That right?
Can I answer that?
Yeah. So.
You ready? Okay.
Well, I understand. Barry, I understand the river did flood here, and the location where they did the work in Brazelton is the Mulberry River. It's the same river as here, and the same amount of water that goes through here went through their river, and it has withstood a very large flood down there, and it's done well.
Does that answer your question on that
Not
one?
allowed to, so.
No, you have 3 minutes.
That project's only been done for less than a year over at Brazelton. So, yeah, that is interesting. I had not seen that January 4th flood. So, did you all go inspect the trees? Are they still there? Did stuff hang up on the roots? You know, all these questions. And the J-hook, which is down at the bottom, what benefit is that going to have for something that's 25, 30 feet of flow? I don't see it at all. Don't see it at all.
I think I'll make this one last comment, because if we're going to continue, I don't want to waste everybody's time here. I'm not sure what your background is in the area of hydrology, but the way it has been explained to us, the whole intent of the J-hooks is to keep the river centered. And if you keep it centered, it remains stable. And as it starts flooding, coming up higher, going up the tapered slopes, it still remains stable. So you have a stable river flowing through an area, even though it's very deep. Now, I'm not a hydrology expert, but that's what I've been told, and that's my understanding of the situation.
Well, I'd like to jump in here just for a second. And that is that it's like stream gauging. You know, the water surface is here, it goes like this. and about 20% below the surface is where the velocity is the fastest for water. But if you have a J-hook, it will keep that flow doing the same thing, whether or not it's 1 foot or 15 foot deep. It'll do the same thing. As far as having tree stumps several layers up, we're just going with 3-to-1 slopes because that'll do the same thing with plantings. As it gets higher, the water isn't moving fast as it spreads out. It's just moving fast in the channel. So I don't see a problem with it at all.
What confidence or what kind of absolute guarantee do we as people in Deaton Creek have that this is going to end after 3 years? Look at Social Security. You know, it was going to be fully funded. How do we know this is going to end in 3 years and you're not going to ask for more money?
Well, there's no absolute guarantee in this world except death and taxes. As far as not having to ask for more money, I don't believe we'll have to do that. I can't guarantee that. This is what the experts tell us we need to do. So that's what we're doing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Gary Cuccinello again. I don't know how long you lived here, but I've lived here a little while, and I watched us move that water from one side of the creek to the other side of the creek. Okay, and then we put in the retaining wall, we put in a fence, we put in everything because we were going to lose the clubhouse, and we just transferred it over. But really, my point is, or the question I'm putting in is what about upstream? You never talk about it. We got another river running into us. We got a lake coming from Mulberry River, and you keep saying the water flow's fine. That's what's getting us in this problem. As new construction comes, we get more water in that river.
You're absolutely correct. As new construction comes, there'll be more flooding. We want to put together a floodplain that will hold up as floods come through. In terms of doing things upstream, there's nothing we can do upstream.
I realize that, but now are you saying how do you know what they're doing up front, up above? How do you know?
How do I know what?
What construction they're building up there?
Well,
How
I
much
know they're
runoff we're gonna
building this mini storage thing just along the river.
That is minimal. That is right up in front of us. This stream runs up quite a ways, and other rivers run into it. Other streams run into it.
Yes, that's correct.
And if you looked at all of that water,
And your
coming
point.
down.
And your point is.
The point is, I don't want to be here again another 10 years from now doing more construction on something that we haven't fixed twice.
I can't guarantee that. But I can tell you this much: 10 years from now, I won't be walking around this way worrying about it.
Yeah, that's just a sarcastic remark.
Yeah, maybe,
You know,
maybe.
Why
but,
do that?
But you're asking
we're all
me.
residents here. Why be sarcastic? We're all residents. We're all trying to find out what's good for the community.
Well,
And that's sarcastic.
well,
What's your
I'll tell you
engineering
what.
background? You don't have an engineering background.
I do.
You
I'm
do?
a civil engineer.
Oh, good. What school did you go to?
Pardon me?
What school did you go to?
Wisconsin.
Oh, very good. You're a professional engineer then?
I am.
Okay, good. When did you give up your license?
When did I give it up?
Yeah.
About 3 years ago.
Okay. And you've been in construction and water
Yeah.
all the time?
At times, yeah.
Okay. At times. Okay. I don't want to belittle you, and I don't want you to belittle me too. But I'm also an engineer. Okay. I built the power plants in the state of Georgia. Okay. And I've been here for many years. And I do not want to be back here 10 years from now. That's what I'm afraid of. 5, 10 years from now, we're going to be back again because it wasn't designed properly.
Okay, I understand your point.
And you're not taking in all the considerations.
Mike DeFantis again. What's being presented right now, is this set in stone? This is going to take effect January 1st, 2024? What you presented without a community vote? It's passed?
Yes,
Okay. So we're not voting on this?
that's correct.
My question is, I have read that there are flood monies available in the state when these things happen. Why is there no monies available to us for the condition of the Mulberry River? You said you contacted every available, and there was no monies available for county, state, local, whatever monies available for this kind of issue?
We found no money available. If you can give us a lead, we'll check further, but we found no money available.
We had the Mitchell flood. There's indication that monies were available when a hurricane, it was a flood situation, Hurricane Mitchell or something.
Yeah,
where monies were
there was
available.
hurricane relief money available for
FEMA.
governmental agencies,
How do you
but we're not a governmental agency.
How do you determine weather-related issues?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
How do you determine weather-related issues with the river in an event like that?
Well,
We can't apply for monies available for this.
What was
rivers
the
joining
hurricane?
and-
What was that hurricane relief fund, Warren? That
It was about 6 or 7 years back, and it was monies that were available from municipalities.
okay, yeah. There was hurricane relief money available 6 or 7 years back for municipalities, but not for private entities like ours.
I've been told we are a municipality. Is that
We
not
are.
true?
We are not.
We are not?
We are not.
When well, it was another, I was told by Buford Gas that we cannot go with any other company because we are a municipality.
No. You.
That's what I was told.
No, that has to do with the utility serving you.
Well, I was still
They
told
have-
we
they
are a
have,
municipality.
Yeah,
We are not?
we are not.
Okay.
We're a private entity.
Oh, boy. Go ahead.
Okay, any other questions?
Just one quick one. I know that a lot of times when you have water flowing, say, from one neighbor to another, the county or the state or an organization gets involved where sometimes the responsibility is not always yours to handle the water because it's coming from another source. Therefore, they will require either funding or some work being done to solve that problem before it gets to you. In this situation, we have 2 rivers plus a dam or water up here that are flowing to us with construction going on constantly upstream that is now going to increase the amount of water flow. So somehow we need to get the county or representatives involved where they are knowledgeable enough to say, some of this responsibility has got to be pushed upstream, so either they will, through some funding, be able to make something available for us to. This is water that's being caused by upstream by someone else. So I don't have an answer to that, but it's somehow if we could explore through county representatives, what can we do or what can they do to help support us to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, I understand your question. It's the same would be with us. We're causing a problem downstream with our subdivision, but it's an old problem. We've been here a long time. I don't have an answer to that other than to say the counties do require sediment ponds and retention ponds. And we have several retention ponds here in our community. They fill up first, and they handle a lot of the water, but from time to time, it just overtops them. And we get what we got here in January, and I think we got it again in July. Okay, any other questions? No, we're up here.
Okay, I'm behind the river out here 100%. I'm behind the parkway 100%. You had those in two different colors. Then you come to the gray, and I just want to preface this by saying, I served on a pillar committee. I came here and did all the work. But if it's going to cost this much, okay, it's not going to hurt me financially, but I do have friends that live in here, that live in the smaller houses, that are on fixed incomes. Can we not take that? I mean, nothing we discussed in the pillars was so nerve-wracking as this place out here when it floods. Can we not take that out and have a lower assessment? Is the pillars so important? So important that we've got to add that other $92,000. That may be a difference of several dollars that, like I said, I'm like you. You said y'all could pay the $1,200 up front. I wouldn't mind doing that and know that it would be paid off early. But do we need all this pillars? I mean, I talked to one of the communications people, and they told me, I was asking about pictures, and they said use the snippet tool. Well, now I know what that is, but I want to know, how many other people in here know what a snippet tool is? Well, guess what? I also can put things in PDF. I can convert them back to a Word doc if I want to. So yes, I can take your PDF, I can convert it to a Word, I can change it and put it back, I can convert it to a PowerPoint, I can use your publisher. Not everybody in here can do that. But is the pillars, if we take it out, can we lower this sum for our friends out here that may not be able to afford that $35? I mean, that's what bothers me.
Okay, you're going to have to give me a minute here because I'm still processing your talk.
Sorry. I talk
Okay, give her
Southern,
the
but I
mic.
talk fast. I know that.
The pillars, the $92,000 is a little over $2 a month.
But $2 a month may be the difference of them getting a dozen eggs or not getting a dozen eggs, not pizza money.
Just wait a minute. We can take it out and make it $33 a month, but we can leave it in, and if it's not used for pillars, and it would be primarily for the security pillar that we're looking at, it would be rolled into the reserve fund, and the reserve fund increase would be lowered by that same amount that year.
Oh, and she just told me there are people in the bigger houses that are also in financial problems. I don't know about that. I'm in the middle size, and we're very comfortable, so I can't complain.
Thanks for your input. Okay, thanks all for taking the time. Appreciate your input. All right, one more question.
I don't understand why we don't get to vote on it, and why we can't pick. Why does it have to be $35 a month? Why can't we do $15 a month over more years? That would help a lot of people.
Okay, we can do $15 a month over 10 years. It involves getting a loan and a number of other things, and we're just not comfortable as a board doing that.
And as far as the voting, do you want to?
What's that?
She asked why there was
Well,
no
the governing
vote.
documents do not provide for a vote of the residents on any of these things. And until the governing documents are changed, we can't ask for a vote, number one. Number two, if we were to start asking for a vote outside of the governing documents, they'd be worthless. Okay. Thanks all for taking the time. Appreciate it.